You know, when you look at your life, whether it's what you did yesterday, maybe it's even what you've done so far today, or you look back on your whole life and you see gaps, you see these big spaces where you go, I do not know how or why I am so not in alignment. I'm not where I want to be. I cannot for the life of me find what I need, the resources that I need to get myself where I want to be. That can lead to feelings of overwhelm, burned out. You can feel guilty. I know a lot of times you can feel shame, self doubt. Who am I to want a better life? So, if you've been searching for a conversation that helps you realign, and a conversation that actually not only helps you realign, but fits your life where you're at, this is one for you. Caitlin will give insight and purpose into places where you might feel just overwhelmed. And um and I was quite taken by her energy and by just the way she has this beautiful presence. It was lovely. So, Caitlin Morris from coachingwithcaitlin.com. That's coaching with Caitlin, CAITLIN.com. You can also reach out to her via email at Caitlin at coachingwithcaitlin.com. And again, her name is spelled CAITLIN. This is a great conversation. I know you'll enjoy it. I certainly did. Please join me now. This conversation will meet you right where you're at. How are you? Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on, Caitlin.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. I'm doing well. I'm excited. Yeah.
This is great. I always love talking about how we can thrive in our life, whether in whatever area, right? Spiritual, emotional, parenting, wherever we are. I love these kinds of conversations. And so if you might just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, then that will inform everyone on all the things that we're going to talk about.
Yes, totally. Oh my gosh, so many things just came into my head because actually just before this morning, I was listening to your episode that you did about shame.
Oh,
And it was just I just thought it was so interesting. And that is one of the pieces I think that I get to work with my clients on a lot is this idea of, and I'll share more as we go, but
I have all day actually.
Okay. This idea of when we're like, I present it this way, which is we are built to survive, not thrive. You know, our ancestors remembered, like, don't eat that berry. I just ate that thing and I puked for 8 hours. But we don't go seek out the berry that, gives us a burst of energy and makes us feel fantastic, right? We just remember like the bad stuff, the like, don't do this. And so when we are thinking about changing something in our life, I've noticed this fascinating thing happens where shame can pile on top of us because we're doing this thing alone, or it feels like we're doing it alone in many different situations and cases. And there's this voice that starts to creep into our head in different ways. Sometimes it's ours, sometimes it's, an awful person who was in our past, whatever it is. Like, who do you think you are that you get to start choosing something better for yourself? And we think that we're wrong or bad because of wanting something more. And so all of that to say, hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm happy to be here. I am a certified health coach, certified functional health coach, a certified life and leadership coach. And I really try to bring all of those pieces together, my trainings together in the middle, to support my clients wherever they're at. So, I've helped people who are barely surviving their days with young children, just trying to carve out a few minutes to take care of themselves. I've worked with empty nesters and people who are staring down retirement, who have given their whole lives to their job, to their kids, and are thinking, holy cannoli, who am I and what do I do with my time? This is really scary. And, everyone and everything in between. And shame is a really big part of what we talk about, and the ability to choose ourselves in really small ways and give ourselves a lot of compassion for the journey that we're on so that we can keep showing up and taking care of ourselves.
Well, that's loaded because this is a heyday for me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's things we can talk about all day long. So the last thing you said was choose yourself,
Hmm.
right? So that we can find compassion towards ourself, because that's actually how this whole thing really, when it boils down, this is how it works.
I think so too.
Choosing
Yeah.
ourselves, finding ourselves. And there's a lot of places to touch on, but I let's just stay here for a little bit, because I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not, but the theme for this season, the episodes that I'm doing this season, is who were you before the world told you who you should be? It is
Mhm.
following that quote
Yeah.
that is so profound to me. I'm building a lot of things off of it, because what I realized when I was a parent,
Hmm.
what I realize now being more of a graduated parent
Hmm.
where I'm on the advisory board, I'm not really the parent.
Yeah. You're not in the day
Um,
to day nitty gritty. Yeah.
no, but that can be very painful,
Hmm. Absolutely.
because you pour your life,
Hmm.
and what you want to do is you want to say, so the who do you think you are is really interesting. And just backtracking a second, because it goes like this sometimes for me. Instead of it being who do I think I am, I want to look at my adult kid and say, who do you think you are to
Hmm.
live your own life and to not sort of keep in touch, for God's sakes? Like,
Hmm.
who do you think I was to you? I'm
Right.
all of this. And so when we get in these little pressure points, we want to shame other people, because a lot of times we don't have our own grounding, our own mooring.
Yeah. That's a really great way to put it. Without that sense of groundedness, it is very easy to kind of get pulled pulled away.
Well, and then they look at you and say, "We'll see you next week," or
Mm.
maybe in 3 weeks, right?
Mhm.
So it can get very dicey, um, because some of us haven't made the transitions.
Mhm.
And what I find upon reflection is the transition starts where you're gonna have a kid. So you move from your significant other to a child.
Mhm.
That's a transition. And then that kid lasts for lots of times 18 years if they go to college or whatever they do. Sometimes they stay longer, sometimes they leave earlier. Um, and then when it's all said and done, all that efforting, all that work, and you're like, now how do I thrive?
Mhm. It's a tough question.
So we'll answer it. Will you have any answers?
Yes, and my clients make fun of me because I say that all the time.
You say yes
I
and?
yes, and yeah,
Mm,
instead of yes, but or something
right.
else like that. I try to keep the conversation open. I know what that looks like for me, at least in this season of my life, and I don't know what it looks like for my clients, right? So that's a lot of our conversation too, is that permission to experiment and quote unquote fail, to try different things, because what works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for somebody else. And I think I actually came up with this paradigm for change that I called Rerouted, and it's 4 phases. And the purpose and the point of it is, as we are going out and trying these new things, how do we connect to ourselves? How do we get clear on what we want? And how do we kind of let the noise drop away of what we should do. Because I also see shame come into habit change when we're trying to do these things, when we're wanting this new thing, but we don't quite know how to go about it. There's lots of rules and shoulds out there of you should work out 5 days a week and get 10,000 steps and strength train 3 to 5 days a week. And you should have, relationships that are really important to you. And, like the list just goes on and on and on in terms of what a healthy, good lifestyle looks like. And for every single person, the intricacies of their day, those things are going to look different. And so we try to go after this ideal and it doesn't work for whatever reason. And we think that we're the problem. And the shame settles in of, I can't do this. What was I thinking? I, why did I even try? Or I'm, why should I try again? Whatever it is. And it keeps us stuck. It can. It doesn't have to, but it can. It keeps us stuck from trying to pursue that idea of connecting to who we were before the world told us who we were. Or, that idea of thriving and trying to be our best self and feel our best self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because, there's a lot of what I hear you describing is the the guilt
Hmm.
of um not being able to show up in ways that you had an expectation
Hmm.
that you would
Yeah.
before everything happened,
Right.
or maybe you have people in your life that show up. It's that the one way that they're showing up is the way that you really, really want to show up too, but
Hmm.
that's you don't have the means or the skills to do that.
Exactly.
And then that guilt or the grief of that keeps you sad and
Hmm.
lonely. And then you feel the isolation.
Yes.
You feel the aloneness of, I shouldn't be here,
Hmm.
not on earth, but more about here. Like, I shouldn't be parenting. I should not be in this situation, or I
Hmm.
shouldn't be where I'm at because I don't have what it takes.
Yeah. It shouldn't be this hard. Why is it so hard? Yeah.
Why is it so hard?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a big one. So, as you have the 4 phases of Rerouted,
Hmm.
what are those phases?
Yeah. So the first one is rest. um,
Come on.
no, I'm serious. Which I know is very
Okay.
counterintuitive to our culture. Makes people a little uncomfortable sometimes. It's okay. And here's why. Okay, so it's also like for a woman, if you are menstruating, there's 4 phases of your cycle. There's, 4 main seasons, right?
Yeah.
And so I saw a lot of these patterns in my clients, but also, just trying to create something that feels really organic, and easy to digest and understand. So this first phase is like winter, fallow. And the purpose of that phase is getting clear on what it is that we want to do for ourselves and why. I should be meditating for 20 minutes a day, but I should be, right? I'm putting that in quotes. I should be meditating for 20 minutes a day, but trying to do that thing is currently really freaking hard for me. And so do I act like, is that something that's important to me right now? Or could it look like, instead of it looking more like sitting on a pillow, in my room, can I figure out how to bring more meditation or presence into my walk when I go outside? Right. So, like, journaling, reflection, like, it can look different for every person, but really checking in with, okay, this is the thing I think I want to try next. Is it true for me? Does that feel good to me or not? And really just understanding, like, kind of digging and composting of of what's been
Yes.
happening and what's been going on.
Yes.
The next phase is more like spring energy. Everything's getting ready, coming out. That one's called reset. And the purpose of that phase is to check in on your environment and see if you're set up for success. This is, trying to pick one thing to move forward with. I'm all about sustainability, and, doing one thing at a time as opposed to 8 things all at the same time. Um, Even though, again, that is hard, but slow and steady does win the race. And, so if somebody wants to work out, for example, do they have the right shoes that they want to wear? Do they have the right clothes? That can be the night before if you want to go for a run in the morning, making sure that you've picked everything out so that it's just you can grab it and it's quick. Um, if you're trying to eat healthier food, do you even have healthier food in your house? Or do you need to purge some things out of your house instead so that there's, not a Lay's potato chip bag that's going to fall by the wayside?
Right.
The next phase is like summertime, being out there, uh, and that is connect. And the purpose of this phase is asking for help. Especially for parents. I love your face right there. Um,
You
you know,
said what?
I know. I see a lot for moms in particular, but also for dads. Like guilt is a really big part of this too. Guilt and shame, they hang out
Yeah,
together a lot.
they do. They
The
do.
mom guilt of if I go work out, then I am not spending time with my kids. And so all of that to say, when we are making a change for most of us, we can't make that change in a vacuum. If we have a partner, if we have a spouse, if we have a family, we have to get those people on board in some way, shape, or form to make it easier to do the thing. If it's simply getting a massage because that feels really good for you and that supports you. Hey, I'm going to do this thing. I want to make sure that you don't have any meetings going on or whatever, that you can be with the kids so that I can go do this thing. Or reaching out to a friend. Hey, I really want to try this workout class down the street. Will you come with me? I'm afraid to do it alone. Just knowing that I think a lot of our conditioning and stories are, you know, especially in the United States, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, or better, faster, stronger, like just go for it. And if you can't, there's something wrong with you, right? And so I really try to challenge that story and that notion in this phase, making sure that we are connecting and that we're not just completely going it alone. And then the fourth and final stage is like the fall, releasing anything that is not serving us and going for it, giving ourselves permission to do it. It's called ACT. So 3 of the 4 phases are prep. The
Yes.
fourth and final stage is actually doing the thing. And then after we do the thing, we actually go back into rest. It's cyclical. It's a circle. Because, then we get the ability to check in again. I just tried this workout class. Did I like it? Or did it suck? Was the
Yeah.
environment not great? Did I not like the teacher? Whatever it may be, it obviously gets to look different. But if I worked out successfully once that week, now I want to take it up to 2, what does that look like? Why do I want to do that? Where does it get to happen? And so just that permission to kind of keep going and keep trying and using whatever worked and didn't work from that previous cycle, that previous go around to support us the next time.
That's great. I really like that cycle because, it goes against everything that you really want to do. It
Yeah.
rest, what?
Uh-huh.
Reset, how?
Uh-huh.
Connect, don't even ask me to
Right.
do that.
Totally. I
And
know.
act,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'll do that in my own time. I find this really interesting, and I think I have a bead on how I'd like to approach this, if
Okay.
you would follow me here,
Let's do it.
because I know how all I have is what I've done in my life.
Yes, of course.
All I got is I share the episodes of my learnings or my things, like you said. You listen to one of them on shame and those different kinds of things, and I think that you know the first thing I think about when it comes to my life, and this is something that, again, um we can challenge these things through conversation, which I love so much. But I want to bring up sort of the deepest root I can think of for each of these.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
And then we can use our own natural resource, our own wellspring of knowledge and
Mhm.
wisdom that we've gained, or maybe there's a new inspiration that comes from both of us putting our heads together. And I love, love, love being rerouted in 4 phases. I
Mm,
really do. So, when you talk about rest, I get it. I totally get it. Having been someone who has had a variety of suffering,
mhm,
whether, when we're looking at people who are going to be listening to this who have variety of traumas in their life.
mhm,
Maybe they have toxic families, maybe they have been parentified where the parents make them responsible for all the different things, or
mhm,
maybe there's no boundaries, maybe there's a lot of different things. You grow up with addictions, you grow up with mental health problems when you're a child, and it's like now you're this person
mhm,
who is hearing this. And Caitlin coaching says, okay, first step, rest. And you're like, but my whole worth, everything that I am, like the way I see myself is about carrying the energy, the problems of other people. I'm a people pleaser not because I really like it. It's the only way I can survive in this world. It's the
mhm,
only way that I can feel love. And it isn't my love. I'm giving love away so I can find a validation. So I'm stuck in survival mode because that's the mode you've been living in since you were however old. So, from my own experience, rest was an anathema
mm,
because I had to prove to whoever they were that I was absolutely capable beyond measure. So, this winter season did not provide me with clarity.
mm, mhm,
So, how do you speak to someone who hears the word rest and they just pause this or they walk away? They're like, yeah, she's full of beans. I'm not interested.
mm.
And then what do you do with what I just said?
Yeah, totally. Well, something that I think is really important in that phase when you're getting started is wherever you're starting, is that connection piece to help somebody understand and validate where you've been and what you've been through has been really hard. And what's coming up for you is completely normal, considering the past, considering your experiences. And so rest can look really different, right? I mean, I'm biased, but I created it. But what rest means to one person gets to mean something different to somebody else. So the rest can simply be what you just shared and putting it all out there, right? And saying, this is really freaking hard for me. And here's why. And that still gets to be a place to start.
What
I was,
about
go
what about
ahead.
your experience, like your personal experience? So, if rest means like it's anathema, I have to carry everybody's burdens. What is, because my kids are significantly older than yours. What is rest for you as a parent with young children
Mhm.
coming from your background, your experience? What does rest mean, and what are your barriers?
Mm. Rest also for me used to be very hard. Um, I, in a past lifetime, I like to joke that I'm a recovering perfectionist and people pleaser. But straight A's, did all the sports, did all of the right things, went to a good school, got a great job that all of my friends were really jealous of. And I was producing commercials, working at one of the top companies in the city. And I was also working, 50, 60 hours a week and was miserable. And I didn't know that I didn't know how to rest. Um, and because I just went. I did all of the things. And when I left that lifestyle, I left the city, we moved to Denver. It was the first time that I was in a place and space to rest, um, that I found myself continuing to stay really busy. And, there was always something else that I was going for or moving towards. When we first moved to Denver in particular, it was like, well, I have to get a job. And so I was hustling to get the job. Then I got the job. Then I got pregnant. Then, it was surviving and keeping a small child alive. And so there were all these things that kept happening where it was very easy for me to keep doing the things that I knew how to do. And then I got to a point in my life where I needed the rest. I was burned out again. Raising small children, not taking care of myself. And that is when I really had to sit with the uncomfortable idea of my worth and my value not being tied to my productivity, not being tied to making other people happy and making other people comfortable. And I I didn't do it alone. I also had a coach and a therapist. I still do. This idea of not doing all of these pieces alone, I think is really important. And I'm also not here to say that everybody absolutely has to rest and find their worth in their stillness and to challenge the idea of productivity being tied up with their worth. Do I think that there's a lot of peace and presence to be found there? Yes, I do. But also meeting somebody where they're at, leaning into that resistance to figure out what's going on, what's coming up for them is really important. For me, rest now looks like reading a book,
Mm.
looks like going and getting a massage. It looks like spending 5 minutes in my closet to light some incense and pull a card. To somebody else, rest might be walking outside. You
Yep.
know, the rest, or at least every single piece of this phase, I empower my clients to take sort of the idea and the goal, but, put it through their own lens so that they feel comfortable, right? Because if we're talking about past trauma and experiences, there's a lot of fear that comes up in not feeling that safety. And so, what does safety look like for you right now? How do we kind of like titrate that and make it feel really doable and possible so that you can still keep taking little baby steps forward and kind of yeah, keep moving forward. Did I answer your question? That felt like a lot.
Yeah, you did. It's great. It's a good answer. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think that when we're talking about rest, like you say, it is so layered and
Mhm,
so deep and so different for everyone. I wrote, as you were talking, worth, stillness. I wrote those 2 words on the page
mhm,
because people really see rest as, maybe for me, I come from a place of my worthiness was not about being still. When you're in survivor mode,
totally.
you can't. You're running for your life. There's no stillness involved. But what I noticed for myself is that I started showing up. And showing up can be a form of rest. Showing up for yourself just
Yes.
as like it started for me when I was doing the dishes. 4 kids, blind with exhaustion,
Mhm.
going, "I don't know how to do this well." I have cycling narrative. I have all these stories and weird things. I'm always thinking about how the other person is gonna maybe say something and I'm gonna have to deal with that. And I'm thinking about all the messy things I'm gonna have to deal with instead of the present moment. And I changed it one day and I just showed up with all of it at the kitchen sink. And I was like, I'm gonna be quiet for a minute. And that's all I did. And then, and then there was one other point. a very significant point in my life where I tried to meditate and I just like, I could not do it. So I set an alarm on my phone
Mhm.
for 5 minutes every hour.
Yeah. Okay.
And that would be me. I would sometimes go to the bathroom, or sometimes, my kids would be watching they would be watching something or they'd be playing. I have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I would just take that 5 minutes and my kids would say, "Oh, your alarm's going off." Yep, that's my
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So every hour I could carve out, and that
Yes.
helped me breathe deep. That helped me
Mm.
find myself. And that 5 minutes wasn't on my phone. It was just going, I have this.
Yes.
I have this.
Yes.
I have this.
Yeah. What you're sharing is so powerful because it doesn't, you know, I think there's also these ideas in our culture of if you rest, then it should be for 8 hours. Or if you rest, then you're never going to get off the couch again. You're just lazy, right? But finding what rest looked like for you was a really small moment of permission to just be quiet. A really small 5 minutes. That's it, to breathe. And so it doesn't have to be this big, gigantic thing that
No.
feels unattainable. It gets to be really small and doable.
And you know what was really important about that is I did this a lot with my youngest. So there's 7 years difference between my third child, my son, and my youngest daughter. And so with her, she really understood this. And as she understood it, my older kids would understand it. So
Mhm.
every hour, no matter where we were, um, my alarm would go off and I would say, okay, it's now my time.
Mm.
And this might be unpopular with people, but here's the thing. You were here first.
Yeah. That just gave me goosebumps. Yeah.
Dave and I, when we had our first daughter, we said, we are here first together. I want to know you when she leaves the house. I
Yeah.
want to know you. I don't want this thing to fall apart.
Yeah.
So if we're here first, then we have to show them that they can see that, but they also need to be first as well. So what
Mhm.
that did for me with that 5 minute alarm every hour was it created the space for my daughter to go, oh, I can be quiet too.
Mhm.
Like we can be quiet together.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be loud and busy and racing. You can find that and you can teach that.
Mhm.
And that becomes sort of embedded inside of them so that when they have a crisis in their life, you could say, okay, let's take 5 minutes.
Yes.
They sit back. They already know how to do it because they've watched you.
Mhm. What
We
a
get to
gift.
teach how to rest, even if we are totally stressed.
Yeah. Even if we're still figuring it out, right? I mean, isn't
Yeah.
that yeah, yeah. And that's so true. And I find that a lot of clients, or I mean, just people, not even just people that I get to work with, but everyone, you know, again, that guilt of stepping away for 5 minutes. For example, I am a bad mom because I'm taking time for myself. We tend to
No,
go
that's just
to
guilt.
that like more negative place, right?
Yeah.
But what you're sharing is okay, hold on, remember that you are also teaching your children, hey, it's important to take care of me. And so then they have that lesson and they get to take that with them in a way that we didn't have of, oh my gosh, like it is actually okay if I take care of myself first. And here's what that can look like. And it's hard to kind of make that connection and think about, oh yeah, it's not just about me. I'm not just doing something bad or selfish. I am an example for my child of what this gets to look like.
Well, if I think back and maybe I ask you to think, 'cause you don't have to go very far back because your kids are so young, right? But I see a lot of parents saying, join me in the kitchen, come and cook with me.
Mhm.
So their little kid comes, my kids all did. They were starting to cut,
Yeah.
they were doing their things, right?
Yeah.
And you even have parents where they're exercising. So they're in their exercise space and their child is doing something or whatever.
Yeah.
We don't often talk about it when come and rest with me.
Right. Oh, yes.
And
That's a
so
great point.
my way of parenting was come and rest with me for the one song and the kisses on the cheeks. I know how to rest with my children, and most of us do, but that's not the rest we're talking about.
Mm-mm.
It's not at night when you're going to bed.
No.
We're talking about being clear on what we need for ourselves so that we can show up for us, because then we will show up for them.
1,000%.
It's really how we will feel better, and we will be able to feel good, and our children will feel good too.
hmm Yeah. The more calm and present we are, the more calm and present they get to feel too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the reset one. So this is all, like you say, number 1, 2, and 3, they're all preps for the action. And do we leave anything on the table for the rest part? Do you want to say anything else about that as we transition?
No, that feels juicy.
It feels, yeah, yeah, feels good. So then the reset part is checking in and setting ourselves up for success. So
hmm
we're checking in on, I would say, still coming from this point perspective that was so familiar to me. I'm now not in this space anymore. So grateful. But I did live for, 25 years racing
hmm
because I was running. I had a lot to do, lots to prove. And
Yeah.
inside, I felt terrible.
hmm
I never thought that I was going to be able to do this. How am I going to show my giftings? Here's all my limitations. I've got so much stuff to work through. When we start out, it's like we have kids, and then all of a sudden we get these bright ideas of what we want to be when we're older.
Yeah.
But we just had a children, and you're like, how am I going to do that now? Like,
Yeah.
how come I didn't have this brainchild when I was 18 and now I'm this old and now I'm having a kid and now I really don't feel like I'm going to be able to do this. So the reset part, would you say it's a rewiring to set yourself up for success?
I think so. Yeah. It's an evaluation of your environment, emotionally, physically,
Mm,
um, literally in terms of the people that are in your life, especially if we're talking about, toxic relationships
yeah.
or whatever, and
Yeah.
this stuff is so hard to navigate. So I don't mean to brush over it lightly in any way, but,
No.
um, for example, there's a client coming to mind for me who has some really tough relationships with her clients, or excuse me, her parents, who are very manipulative. And so for her, starting to take care of herself in this new way was noticing, oh, my parents are not actually supportive of what I'm doing. I don't quite know how to completely navigate that right now. But what I do know is calling them 3 times a week is not going to serve me anymore. I'm only going to call them 1 time a week. And so, like, creating a little bit more of that space again, in a way that feels safe and feels doable, so that you are choosing you, so that your environment feels like you can do this next thing in a different way. And, physically, again, that can be like workout clothes, um, getting rid of food that you don't want to be eating, but emotionally, energetically, doing those kind of small, doable pieces of creating space where possible, creating some distance where possible, so that you have more time to just take care of you is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. Would say one of the most important things we could do to reset ourselves is to show boundaries.
hmm
Boundaries. And that looks very different for, like we say, this is all different for everyone. And so we
hmm
always make that sort of notation at the beginning of our conversation with every one of these points, because each phase builds off of the other. And
hmm
so if you're in the rest period where you get this window of time for yourself, whether it's 5 minutes or 2 minutes, You can only do 2 minutes on your timer, do 2 minutes.
Yes,
Start
totally.
there.
Yes, start somewhere. Yes, it is. It's more than none, right?
It's
I
more
mean,
than none.
yeah.
So then how about resetting? I'm here. I'm doing this for me. I'm
Yes.
not doing this for my mother. I'm not doing this for my father, I'm not doing this for my significant other. If
Mhm.
this is my role, this is my lane today, then this is how I can allow my environment to inspire me again to show up. What does it mean? It means different things. Just show up with the intention of I'm going to have, um, I'm going to set the space for myself
Mhm.
today.
Yeah.
Now, how do we get over this idea of who do you think you are saying that you are going to set time for yourself? Like,
Mm.
that's ridiculous because what's rewarded in this world is all of this crazy efforting.
It's not easy. Totally. It's the again, it's not easy, but there definitely has to be an intentional choice
Mm,
of that can work for them. That's what they're doing. I get to do something different for me. And that permission of, hey, maybe that works for them. This is what works for me right now. That's one piece that it's coming up for me when you're asking that question. The other piece is checking in, this idea of who do you think you are to be doing this thing? Where is that coming from? Like, whose voice is that actually? Is it literally someone in your face saying, who do you think you are? Maybe. But is it some sort of story that you're telling yourself again from some sort of past relationship that you had? Or is it some sort of conditioning that you just you're not even aware of, that you are talking to yourself in this way and getting clear on that inner critic? And if that inner critic is a different person or if it's you, and even just that awareness and that intentionality of, oh, that's an interesting thought. Like, where is that coming from? Gets to give you a lot of choice in how you want to move forward from there.
I like that. Oh, I don't know that one. I know it. I just don't know it by number. Okay. So, because the reason why I'm asking is because, um, there was a specific episode that I did with someone on shame,
Mm,
and it was one of the most powerful things someone has ever said to me in my lifetime to date, and it was this, "That isn't your shame."
mm.
And I was like, "What?" And
Wow.
I
Yeah.
I if there's something that we can take away from this conversation for people to remember is as we're talking about the evaluation of your environment, part of the evaluation is saying, "Oh my gosh, that was their energy, their patterns, their beliefs that
Yes.
they put onto me. I'm a grown adult. Maybe I'm a parent and maybe I'm not a parent. Maybe I don't want to be a parent. Maybe I'm doing something else. Maybe it's whatever." The point being, whatever the narrative in your head isn't actually yours.
Yeah.
It's someone else's impact, someone else's assessment.
Hmm.
But somehow we believe our inner critic goes, "Oh, now it's our world."
Hmm.
I was bullied in high school or elementary school. I was a bully in high school, which was just
Mm,
terrible.
mm,
But it proves the point. Being bullied, I lost all the power.
mhm.
I felt shameful. I
Yeah.
felt terrible. My inner environment, I couldn't rest. I couldn't reset. There was nothing. And then I felt more powerful. And then I thought, oh, this is it. I can hurt someone else because I'm so much pain in my own life. I can hurt somebody and treat them poorly. And then that environment didn't do anything for me. It
Mm,
didn't benefit me in
right.
any way, right? Then I get to be the adult. Then I get to be the mom. Then I get to be the leader. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to reset all of those things, those ways that I internalized my environment and then pushed it out as an action.
Yes.
I get to reset. So what did I do? Well, I took accountability.
Mm,
Firstly, I went to the person and the people that I was a bully to, and I said, you don't ever have to forgive me,
mm,
but I know what I did.
that's powerful.
So I think when we move into this reset piece, we understand that a lot of this isn't our stuff
Hmm.
and we're fighting it, but it isn't really ours.
Yeah.
But we can take accountability for what is. And that is a part of reshaping the environment. And it will allow you to rest. And then it will also allow you to the next step, which is the connection piece.
Yes. Yes. That's so powerful. I relate to shame as, and I think I mentioned this before too, almost like, layers or a coat, right? And so in that phase, what you're speaking to is the good thing about that is that you put that shame on like a coat, whatever, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, it doesn't really matter. Then you also get to take it off.
We don't
Like,
know we can.
no, but if you figure out that you've put it on and you're carrying it, and that was a choice that you made intentionally or not, then there is also the choice to take it off.
And we're here to tell people that they can take their coats off.
Hmm.
It's getting hot in here. You can
Yes.
take your coat off.
Yes. Yes. Please.
Things- it's 90 degrees. Why are you carrying a winter wool coat on your body?
Seriously. But so many of us do.
Because we don't know that the environment that we were in is not the environment we're in right now. And we can change the environment. And it isn't being untrue to yourself. You can have a work environment and you can have a home environment. I think just the building blocks of the environment are truth, accountability, and um and vulnerability of who you are and what you're doing and where you're at. You're not living separate lives. You're you're realizing that we are shaped by the words. We are shaped by the words that we speak. We are
Yes.
shaped by our thoughts.
Hmm.
And I think that we maybe are needing some gentle nudges to remind ourselves that our environment can be changed
Yes.
like very quickly.
Yeah.
So, how do you lead people through that? So, as the reset phase, what do you do for yourself? And then what do you call others toward?
Exactly what we've been talking about, right?
Mm,
And for a lot of people, myself included, it's a lot of awareness building. I say that you can't change anything if you don't have an awareness of how it's showing up for you, how it's impacting you right now. And
mm.
so this can also be tough for people when they just want the change, they just want the thing to be different. And I get that. And building an awareness first of how those things are showing up, how they're impacting us is really important. For example, somebody who has been a people pleaser for a really long time and is trying to get closer in touch with who they are, how they want to be showing up. What do I even like? Do I actually like pizza? Or have I just been saying yes to that for 20 years because I don't want to fight? Right. And so that reset phase can be an awareness, sort of like I loved the 5 minutes and kind of doing that every hour. Like I'm going to set a timer or a reminder for 2 minutes every hour to check in and reflect on my last hour. Did I give pieces of myself away in a conversation? Did I honor like what felt right to me? When I said yes to that question, I actually felt this like knot in my belly and it actually felt really gross to say yes. And so, okay, now I know that was not an honoring of myself. And maybe next time when that same scenario comes up and I feel that knot in my stomach again, when I'm about to say yes, I get to take a pause and I get to say no instead. And so, it's not sexy, some of these things we're talking about. It doesn't feel productive. But if we don't have that awareness, if we're not taking sort of this holistic view and approach to this change that we're trying to make, then it's really hard to take a different action.
I agree with you. So in this phase, we ask for help.
Woof, I know. Isn't that so uncomfortable?
No, we don't. What are you talking about? Just start asking for help now.
I know.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. It's again, this gets to look different, right? Help can be connecting with your therapist. Help can be a session with your coach. It can be texting a friend. Will you ask me tomorrow if I went to this workout class? Or will you go to this workout class with me? Or, honey, I feel really guilty about stepping away from the family for 2 hours to go to this massage.
Mm.
But can you just let me know that it's going to be okay and I'm still a good mom? Like that, somebody doesn't even have to necessarily do something. But again, sort of this energetic piece that keeps coming up for me in our conversation today, like the safety that we get to feel and create for ourselves to take that step is really important. And again, gets to be different depending on who we are and what we're trying to do for ourselves. And that is a part of the rest phase too, depending on how many cycles we're talking about here, is that reflection piece
Right.
of what worked and what did I accomplish. But you're bringing something up that's new for me, is that the connection piece, this connect step, also gets to be a check-in and a connection back to ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's from being a parent of adult kids.
Mm,
So I'm having a different window now. And
sure.
that's why I'm offering it, because I love the conversation, because you're in this younger year and I'm in this older year and we're both crying about the same thing. and and really, like our approaches are they look different,
Hmm.
but they weren't, and they're not.
Yeah.
I did all this stuff way back. And the thing that I would say to myself now is, Lori, look at what you just did this morning. Take a look. Just stop the crazy. Take that 5 minutes of breath. Stop for a second and just, what did you do this morning? Oh, well, I got out of bed. I got the kids out of bed. I actually cuddled a few of them
Yeah.
and then put breakfast in front of them. And remarkably, they ate.
Yeah. Oh my
Their
gosh. Yeah.
lunch had to get made.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we actually got out the door. And then they got to school and I watched them be safe. And I watched this, and this all happened in an hour and a half.
Right. Yeah.
Like, look at what you did. And now, if you need help from where you're standing,
Mm,
what does that look like?
yeah.
Maybe it is then saying, now I need the next step of going to the gym. So when we're asking for help, we're not coming to this place of shame of going, I got to ask for help and they're going to see. Like, no, no. Remember who you are. Remember what you've done. And even if you're sitting there and you're at work and you're going, okay, as a business owner, as a business leader, okay, here's what have you done in the last hour?
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I actually met with a client yesterday who was frustrated that they weren't accomplishing anything.
I know.
But what's true is that he just didn't do what had been on his specific list for the day. Right. So he couldn't specifically cross something off of his list. But the list of things that he went through is what somebody should actually experience and do in like 2 weeks of work. And he did
Yeah.
it in a day.
Yep.
And, we can be really quick to dismiss how things are showing up for us. And that's fear, that's scarcity, right? Of this like lower vibration of I can't do this thing, but I should be able to. I didn't get enough done, whatever it is. Versus the other side of that, this piece that we're talking about is way more expansive of look at who I am,
Yeah.
look at what I've done,
Yeah.
how I show up, all of the things that I do. And I get to involve other people in this incredible life I'm building when I ask them for help.
Yes. Yes. And the credible life you're building, and you've said this, Caitlin, so many times, it doesn't look like the person who is on Instagram. It doesn't, it like, we have to remember
Yes.
in this point of connection, if you're looking at an influencer, just remember that you can ask for help in your own way. They might be asking for help too, just in a different way. And
Yeah,
you don't have to model after the people around you. But that's very, very hard to move away from now.
it is. It is. So maybe that means, get off Instagram, for example,
Yeah,
delete
well,
TikTok.
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. Um,
yeah, but
and the
yeah.
the next phase is the doing part,
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
called act.
Yes.
And that's basically letting go and begin. Begin to do what, even if you're scared.
Yeah. I actually just read this week, I don't know if it's true, but I like the sentiment that trees are the strongest in the fall when they are losing their leaves because they are no longer, like supplying nutrients to that leaf, right? And so it looks like they are falling apart. It looks like they are shedding, that they're dying, whatever, but they're actually the strongest because they're conserving energy that was being spent elsewhere that now they get to put back into their system, into the trunk, into the roots. And that's what ACT is. ACT is letting go of these stories, these people, these ideas that are not serving us, that are holding us hostage, even if they don't realize it, right? Um, how somebody treats us is a reflection of them. It's not a
Mm,
reflection of us and who we are. And so, getting clear on taking off that jacket of shame and releasing the shame of they're doing this thing and they must be happy, and like the permission to just kind of focus on you, so that you can actually do the thing is so important and so powerful.
I would agree. So if somebody was to want to connect with you and to what would they be coming to you for?
I'm thinking of all of the different people that I have the honor and privilege to work with. And I think I would say that in general, they're, they have this sense of being out of alignment with who they were and who they want to be and who they are now. And they know that there's something bigger and different that is on the other side, but they just don't know how to get there yet. They don't know where to start. And that's where I have the privilege of coming in, is helping them just start and just try, and to be support and accountability, compassion and connection along the way, so that each of those little steps that we've been talking about today feel doable and feel possible, and we don't feel so alone and so isolated in that shame.
I love it. And this spans like parenting and career. If you're not parenting, it doesn't matter really where you are in your life. It's every aspect of your life, regardless of where you're at.
Mhm.
And you are connecting to people to help them thrive and live their very best life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as we're talking about this asking for help piece, there's no shame in, wanting to go about some change in your life alone. And I think it's important for somebody to hear that they are also worthy of getting that help and support, and that it doesn't have to be so hard and it doesn't have to be so isolating. I think we can get really used to accepting kind of how things are and what is, and thinking that we don't deserve that expansion or we don't deserve more. And so I'm here to say, actually you are deserving of that. And it it doesn't have to be so hard, and you don't have to feel so alone, and you get to be just as worthy and valuable with that help and support as you are, without it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Um, the takeaway. So they've listened to, we walk people through the rerouted 4 phases.
Mhm.
And if there's something that you want to leave everyone with, what would it be?
Mm. That they are worthy of thriving in their life, even if they don't know what it looks like yet, even if it hasn't been shown to them, even if that thriving looks different for somebody else, they get to figure out what it is for them and to just um swim in it is the like image that's coming to me, like bathe in the worthiness of living a life on your terms.
Mm. Ooh, I like that. I would say that what I hear from you is we all belong. We all belong. And when we feel that we don't belong, this is the moment. Instead of reacting, we can change the way we react to a response. And the response can be to drop into an awareness, a rest, a reset, a connection, and an action. And that can carry us into a feeling of it isn't about anyone else other than you,
Mm,
actually.
yeah.
And that is really what this holistic approach is. This isn't holistic to to have everybody in your family feel enough. No, no,
Mm,
no, no. You come
correct.
first.
Yeah.
You are first, and it's not selfish. Who do you think you are? You are a person who's deserving
Yes.
of rest, of reset, connection, and action, and you deserve awareness. Whatever shame or discomfort or beliefs that you feel, they aren't yours.
Mhm.
They were given to you. It's time to move away from those and find the life of thriving and inner awareness that you so deserve in this life. And you can do that through connection with Caitlin.
Mm.
And
Yes.
I love
Thank you.
that. You've got a good work here and I love it. So it's coachingwithcaitlin.com.
Yes.
Okay. But I just appreciate your wisdom and your heart. And I
Mm,
love that you just shared and you reminded us that self-care is not selfish. It is essential. It is important for everyone to find a moment for themselves. And so if you are ready to step out of overwhelm and have a more intentional, energized life, this is someone that you can do that with. Coachingwithcaitlin.com. That's
yeah.
where we're going to find you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lori. Thank you for sharing your heart and your stories and your power. I can just feel it, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to spend time with you today. Thank you.
Well, likewise, likewise. Um, be blessed. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Take care.